The true value of ad hominem method is in understanding the idea by understanding its source. So a person that produced this idea. And I repeat that it's not about argumentation. So ad hominem argumentation is strictly forbidden still. All right? Greetings, this is Eugene the Philosopher, the greatest living philosopher after the unfortunate passing of Quentin Robert de Nameland, who has been the greatest living philosopher before me. Let me start with a quote from Oscar Wilde from A Picture of Dorian Gray, alright? So, it is only shallow people who do not judge by appearances. The true mystery of the world is in the visible, not the invisible, alright? So this video is going to be about this, about appearances, how appearances show what people are about, and how it may help you to understand what the people are about, and therefore which ideas are better than the others, again, based on the source of these ideas, which are the people we are talking about, alright? So ad hominem method, ad hominem argumentation, is a method based on focusing on the people, on the person who makes the statement, rather than a statement itself, all right? So it's a well, technically it's a fallacy, a logical fallacy. So as an argument, as a method of argumentation, it's very dirty and very like unethical, you know, it's very, very suspicious at the very least, right? So again, you don't really want to make ad hominem arguments unless you want to, you know, become this sort of kind of dirty guy or a girl, dirty girl, or whatever. But my point in this video specifically is I'm not trying to advocate for ad hominem as a method of argumentation, but rather as a method of research. And here, the story is completely different. The picture is almost the reverse, in fact. So, as a method of inquiry, I don't know, or research of ideas, it's a very valuable method. So, this method basically entails you studying the person, the author of the idea, and therefore understanding the idea better, again, through understanding of its author better. It was kind of the reverse of what the modernity scientists tried to do. They tried to study God, i.e. the creator of the world, through studying of the world, right? So they said, well, studying physics will help us understand God better. Well, what I'm saying is you have to study God to understand physics better in some way. I'm not actually saying this, all right? It's a metaphor for what we're dealing with in this particular case. But yeah, like surprisingly, even very abstract ideas and concepts and like opinions are surprisingly closely, neatly tied to their authors, actually. So this is what I would call, what we may call abstraction paradox, and this is a thing I've discovered, well, 18 years ago when I was reading Nietzsche. So the thing is, you see, what is the paradox? Is that you would think that what people do every day is most connected to their nature, if you wish. Like what a person is the best, sort of expressed through their everyday lives, right? Because, well, it's sort of close to their body, literally and metaphorically as well. But I've found that it's actually the most abstract things, the most like completely unrelated things are they signify a person's nature much better than this everyday life does. So why is that the case? Like, things like opinions about life in general, things like opinions about people in general, things about their stance on some abstract concepts like infinity or, I don't know, like infinite ocean, things like that. So like half aesthetic, half religious, half philosophical types of, ideas, concepts, etc. So why is that the case? Why does a person's stance on these subjects illustrates their nature more than anything else? Well, it's because it's not constrained, you see. So when we're talking about like the most abstract things, like the universe in general, the life in general, etc., then a person is free to think whatever they want, right? Because Like there are no, obstacles in the way. Like in everyday life, you can't really do anything you want, right? You're constantly constrained by these external circumstances and obstacles. Whereas in abstract thinking, there are no such constraints and obstacles, and therefore your instincts, like whatever you are internally, like viscerally, may express freely. And that's why the opinions about the most abstract stuff actually reveals who you are in the most intimate way, actually, paradoxically. That's why I call it abstraction paradox. So hopefully this makes some sense to you, and hopefully this would actually bring an argument in favor of ad hominem argument to studying other people's arguments, right? So you can study a person, you can understand what they are about, so to speak, and through this lens, you would understand their idea about infinity and the universe and life in general better, rather than without it, alright? Does that make sense? I think it does, okay? So, and there is plenty of people who deal with this sort of ad hominem understanding, every day pretty much, like habitually, and these are women, of course, alright? So why do women, why are they interested in ad hominem understanding of people so much? Well, firstly, women are more interested in people in the first place than men, that is. Men are more interested in things. Again, it's a very, like, I don't know, it's a truism, right? It's a very trivial fact. So, but why are women interested in people, and why are they so interested in evaluating people so much? By the way, watch my recent video about astrology specifically. This is also one of the facets of this fascination, no pun intended, with people of women. Alright, so, well, one obvious thing is that their biology necessitates that, so it's almost an existential thing for women to evaluate people very quickly, right? And kind of, sort of make this evaluation of theirs almost like the basis of their behavior, of their, meaning women's, right? Of their stance and therefore behavior towards these people they've just evaluated in an ad hominem type of way. Alright, so why do I mean it's existential? Well, when a woman sees a man, well, it's very important for her to evaluate, is this a man a danger? Or is this a man a, prospect, are these good genes? Would I allow these genes to be inserted into me? These types of questions. So yeah, and men, like, not so much, like male behavior is governed by completely different things. Like, again, men need to understand, the environment, because men interact with the environment, right? Then they gather resources from the environment, then they bring these resources to women. So women don't necessarily need to be interested in things. Men do this for them, alright? While women may be interested in men and other people in general. Like other women, like if they are a competition, blah, 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 blah. So hopefully understandable what I just said, alright? So my point here is not to discourage women from doing this, because once again, the whole point of my video is that it's a good practice for understanding, alright? It's a really good practice. So women, you may just keep doing whatever you've been doing for millennia, right? For tens of millennia, whatever, the whole existence of a human race. So I bless you if you wish. You're welcome. You may keep doing this. But my point is mostly for men, actually. You see, women are doing this on a regular basis and they're kind of doing fine. So why aren't we doing this as men? And I think we should, alright? So I think it's a really good practice. If you understand the person and what they are about, then whatever this person does or produces would be understood better. So men only focus on the product, on the material, whereas women only focus on the source, on the person that produces the material. What I propose is kind of look at both things, right? You can look at the source, evaluate the person, then you would understand the material, their product, much better. And so these two things that they're not mutually contradictive, The thing is, men are significantly underperforming in evaluating people, and women are significantly underperforming in evaluating things or concepts or, products. But again, women don't necessarily need to do those things in the first place. So I'm mostly talking to men. All right. And you would discover quickly, if you start noticing, if you start paying attention, actually, just paying attention would be plenty enough. So you would start discovering that there are types of people, definitely. And these types of people, okay, we'll save it we'll talk about this in a minute, but what do I mean by types of people and how do they appear? Well, you see, human behavior is sort of like a self-regulating process, right? So a person would it's kind of hard to describe, but they would eventually fall into one of the more or less well-recognizable patterns of behavior with respect to a certain situation, let's put it this way. And that, in this way, like, people are sort of self-imposing these roles or types onto themselves, actually, right? So that's what happens, and that's why the types of people are not even necessarily predetermined by some, again, astrological things, even though they actually are rather, but whatever. But it's the behavior of people themselves which sort of gives rise to these recognizable types or patterns of behavior, right? So yeah, and so you will quickly understand, like, okay, this guy is this type of guy, you know, so they would be most likely interested in these types of ideas, and you will find correlations very quickly, very quickly. It's actually quite fascinating how fitting those things are. Again, see my abstraction paradox, like, even like very remote things are so tightly connected to what a person is, you wouldn't believe it, actually. So just pay attention, boys. Why did I make this, give you this Oscar Wilde quote? Well, it's because what a person is also is quite noticeably, you know, manifesting in their appearance, right? In their appearance, in their gestures, in their, you know, facial expressions, in their vibe, if you wish. So you can actually quickly judge a thinker by just the way they look. The way, like, a 1 minute video clip would be enough for you to pretty much grasp the idea of any thinker. Again, if you pay attention, if you spend like 20 years, as any, you know, young girl, 20-year-old girl has, right? You have 20 years of experience of observing people and making connections and, like, you know, kind of evaluating people. So you start doing this to thinkers, researchers, and just, you know, random people expressing certain opinions, and you will see patterns. And it's kind of insane, actually. You know, it's kind of cool. So yeah, that's why appearance matters. This is kind of my point, the point of this video, one of the points at least. I mean, the main point is that ad hominem in general as a method of research is cool, and like a minor, you know, theorem here is that your appearance, like the way you behave, actually indicates what you are, if you wish, to a large degree, alright? Which is kind of obvious if we're being honest, but whatever, you know. These days, it wouldn't hurt to clarify sometimes. So yeah, and one thing I wanted to note with respect to this, like, you may think, well, am I inventing something new, me, Eugene the philosopher? No, I don't, you know. And in fact, you may notice a little factoid that all three of the most influential thinkers of the 19th and 20th century, which would be Nietzsche, Freud, and Marx, all three of them have utilized ad hominem to such an extent you wouldn't believe. Like, you know, like Marx said, you know, like, your being determines your consciousness, or basically who you are determines what you think, which is exactly what I'm saying in this video, right? Then Freud said essentially the same thing, like, your own problems influence your most abstract thinking, your dreams and things like that. And Nietzsche said the same things, you know, like, if you are a trash person, even if you're saying good things, like, it kind of makes good things corrupt rather than you better, you know. So you gotta be a great person, like a big, strong, kind of guy to express the proper views properly. Otherwise you're making them a disservice even, you know. So same idea, same ad hominem thinking in all of these, again, three major thinkers, arguably, again, the most major thinkers, of the last 200 years or so. So yeah. And here is the segment where, again, we've talked about how ad hominem is like kind of good to understand what the person is all about, and therefore what their ideas are all about, like what's their value, what's their merit. And we've discussed how appearance may be a symptom, you know, of all these things together. So I kind of wanted to have fun a little bit, and let's consider a couple of examples from some of the, you know, like public figures. So let's start with Joe Rogan, and let's just get this off the table. I mean, he looks incredibly dumb. Like, he just looks like he's not a very bright human being, you know? Which is, again, it's kind of fine because he was a fighter, right? MMA fighter or whatever. So, in this sense, like, his appearance reflects what he is. Is he a very smart person? Would you want to listen to anything he says? Probably not. Somehow people do. And I mean, I get it, like, his job, in air quotes, is a podcast host. So he's probably like, by being dumb, he allows other people to be smart, right? So that's kind of his ticket to success, I guess. But would you rather listen to any other smart person talking to, you know, a smart guest? I would say it would be much more interesting than listening to this guy, all right? But that's just my opinion. Then we have Andrew Huberman, another famous podcast host. Actually, most of the pictures I would show you are podcast hosts. And why is that the case? Well, it's just because, well, I got recommendations on YouTube of many of these people, and I had to watch at least a couple of clips of them, and I was irritated by most of them, right? So that's the motivation for putting the majority of people here. So Huberman, right? Like incredibly good, supposedly. I don't listen to it, so I don't know. Supposedly incredibly good medical advice, etc., etc. But then look at his eyes, specific. Like, he's dressed well. Like, I'll give you that, very good, most of the time at least. And but look in his eyes. Do you see like this sort of, you know, sort of doom, like almost like futility, if that's the word, of everything? Like the fire in his eyes, like it's completely absent. And you know why that's the case? You may look at some other photos. I almost literally took like the very first one that I got in my web search. So I think he was like a drug addict and an alcoholic or something like that in his youth. But then he became, you know, this raging anti-drug, anti-alcoholic type of guy. And that's the kind of look you get. Like, the fire in your eyes is gone when you start living this sort of life, like this warring sobriety kind of life. So he gets energy from fighting his own vices, essentially, which is kind of not healthy, you know, intrinsically. I mean, well, okay, I mean, many arguments could be made here, but that's kind of my point. Like, he's lame. He's lame because he's I don't know how you call it, self-extinguishing type of guy, right? And like, it's kind of like I just can't watch him for more than 2 minutes because he lames me out, so to speak, all right? Tucker Carlson, all right. Well, this is like, he looks like a puppet, doesn't he? So, like, technically, on paper, this dress might be considered good, even though I wouldn't call it good. Like, at least it's somewhat formal. I mean, it's a shitty dress. Okay, let's just end with this. But overall, like, his appearance, his behavior, like, he looks like a puppet. And he has always has this look on his face, that this uncanny valley type of look, you know? Like, he's a doll or something, but a very human-like doll. Like, incredibly creepy human-like doll. And, like, I just don't know how you can trust this guy. I mean, his father was an intelligence officer, and he's probably an intelligence officer as well. And he has this look, and people somehow listen to him. Are you stupid? I don't know. I don't know, guys. Okay, this Chris Williamson, I think, yeah. So he's a model, all right? So almost like, you know, a ripped kind of guy, very good looking in terms of his body, but on his podcast, like, he always has this look, like he just, and well, firstly, he's dressed really shittily. Like, I don't know how you can be a model and dress so poorly most of the time. And secondly, he always has this look on his face that he's just woken up from a coma, and he's just like completely clueless. Like, guys, like, what's going on? Which year is it? On every podcast, like, almost, I mean, I'm not watching them, but every clip I've seen of him is like this. He's like this. He's like, I just woke up from a coma, guys. Like, what's going on? Completely clueless, just like Rogan, you know, the same level of intelligence, same level of contribution to the discussion, all right? Conan O'Brien, actually, very good. Like probably the only example where a person is dressed really well. Like whatever pictures and clips of Conan I've seen, he's dressed really well. Like the only thing, like I don't like his face. I mean, he's ugly if you ask me, but I mean he's a redhead, okay? And the goofy haircut. But since he's a comedian, like this is actually good, right? His ugly face and his goofy haircut is actually good because he's comedian, and he like otherwise his dress is always on point. So big plus from me. All right. Uh, I'm sorry, Eric Weinstein, right? Almost said Epstein as well. Harvey Epstein. So, again, like on paper, this is a formal look, but he looks kind of bad, you know? Like he didn't quite pay attention. Like the shirt is kind of shitty, the suit is kind of shitty, and like he looks like okay, I will make an appearance that I'm making an effort, but I won't make an effort. This is how it's called, which means that he's telling us like, you know, guys, like I'm kind of pretending, and you know I'm pretending, and I know I'm pretending, but in reality I'm something different, right? And what is different? What am I? Well, this again, goofy haircut. Like I'm not of this world, you know. I'm something else. Like I'm gonna propose you a journey to I don't know Wonderland, right? So his face definitely says, you know, that he's capable of some deep thoughts. I'll give you that, all right. But then this goof, this is like I'm not really respecting you, and you know that, and I'm kind of better than you probably, and I'm smarter than you, so I don't even have to dress well, etc., etc. So there's this kind of vibe, all right, which isn't. You can actually think for yourself. I mean, it's kind of fine on some level, right? So if that's your thing, but you can see, right, how everything that this guy is all about is communicated through how he looks. So hopefully this illustrates my point, the point I'm making in this video. John Oliver, always well dressed, right? But he has this stupid soy boy look that I just can't. I just can't. Like always this wide mouth and like raised eyebrows. Like it just kills me, right? Like I don't even know what to add here. But he's really well dressed and well spoken, like almost perfectly, right? But I just can't. Like I mean, come on. Jordan Peterson. Well, there's one thing I want to talk about, and again, it's his dress. So he dresses recently, at the very least, very formally, right? And I kind of have a feeling that he wears his suits almost like I do wear mine, which is, it's a form of protection, essentially. It's a form of armor. So when you are very vulnerable, right? When you are very sensitive, you kind of want to have some protection. And Peterson have had so much publicity in recent years that definitely, like, he feels probably out of place in this world of public media, I mean. Then that's why he's wearing this armor. You can see, like, from his old lectures, he's wearing much more sort of relaxed, casual, everyday, at home type of clothing. Whereas in recent years, like, he started wearing these suits, which is I don't think it's just a formality. I think he's like this well-spoken sort of public speaker, but I think it's even more so for his own comfort, because it provides him armor, right, from the external world, and you can kind of see, like, there are even like many layers to it, right? All right, Lex Fridman, another incredibly lame kind of guy. Like, I just can't. Like, his podcasts are like, his voice is so monotone and so boring, and like his tie is too long. I mean, I guess the guy is short himself. I don't know. And he's also a fighter, right? So what do you want from him? And he has this clueless look on his face, like slightly bored, slightly like, dude, what are you saying? I have no idea. Like he just smoked some pot or something. And he wears his suit like
again, I love wearing suits, right? When he's wearing a suit, it looks like a guy who wears a suit like, you know, once every 5 years or something. Like he's on a wedding and he just put it on because everybody needs to put them on. I mean, I might be wrong, but this is the vibe I'm getting from this, all right? And again, the clueless face, like I have no idea what I'm doing here. What are you even saying? Like, let's just go home and eat some chicken or something. Like, this is his vibe, essentially, which is complete. Like, I just can't listen to him or watch his podcast or listen to his podcast, whatever. Like, it's just too lame for me. Matt Walsh, actually really well dressed, again, most of the time that I've seen him. Relatively well spoken, let's put it this way. Like, and I kind of like just how he looks. Like, his face is fine. The only thing I really dislike is this stupid beard. Like, I don't know, maybe his jaw is very weak or something, so he hides it under the beard. Or maybe there's some other motivation behind this, but if you just get rid of the beard, you would look much, much better. I can tell you that. Ben Shapiro. Look at these eyes. What are they telling you? Well, they're probably telling you what they should tell you, which is, look at me, I'm a little rat. Right? And, like, I just don't have anything else to add. Like, I'm a little rat. Like, his view just communicates this and nothing else. And this is what he is, essentially. Tom Segura. Actually, the last one I have. He looks like your, you know, stereotypical uncle. So again, not very smart. Like every once in a while, he cracks some daddy jokes or something. He used to be pretty fat. Like I've looked into some older photos. I think older photos. I hope, right? Now he looks much more healthy, and thank God for that. But other than that, look at this outfit, right? Like it basically means I don't have anything useful to say, guys. I'm just here for the party, you know. I'm just here having a good time in a sort of relaxed type of way. So once again, do you want to listen to a person like this giving opinions on some difficult matters, giving something original? We probably don't.
All right, so with that out of the way, let's conclude this video. So my main point here is that the true value of ad hominem method is in understanding the idea by understanding its source. So a person that produced this idea. And I repeat that it's not about argumentation. So ad hominem argumentation is strictly forbidden still, all right? But it's more for your own internal consumption, so to speak. So for you to understand the idea better, right? You still cannot make an argument that, okay, this is a trash person, therefore whatever they say is trash. Like, this is not a valid argumentation. Like, in the eyes of society, at the very least. But when you are engaging in public discourse, you are engaging in the discussion with the whole of society. Watch my video comment about comments. It's not even about this particular person you're having an argument with. It's everyone else, actually, is the main person you're talking to, all right? So, yeah. So, long story short, you may evaluate people and therefore their ideas based on their vibe and their appearance, that is how they look, etc. And it would help you a lot in understanding what they think and say. Thank you for watching. The eons are closing.
If you wish to support me, please consider joining my Patreon. That is patreon.com/philosopher. See the link in the description. Or if you have a scientific theory of your own and you'd like my help in developing it, please join my alternative science coaching program, also available through Patreon.